Okay, folks, welcome back to onemanmedia.us. This is Didi Pham talking to you from San Antonio, Texas. And as I promised, yes, in this video, I'm going to prove to everyone that, the energy crisis is just like a hoax. Or at least, we did solve the energy crisis, but somehow it's not translated to the environment only because of the human greed playing a part in there. So, but before I get into the energy crisis, I want to emphasize one more time about the word CO2. Yeah, because that is nowadays that one is popular because somehow everyone tried to talk about the CO2, but I did mention in a previous video, but I think it's important. So one more time, I want to emphasize that. CO2 absolutely also good for human being. So just think about the CO2 is needed for the photosynthesis. So the plant, can release the oxygen for us to breathe in, right? So that's why I say, and also one very special observation from my own research, yeah, because like I say, even I'm not a scientist, but I try my best to dig deep into the issue to try to explain. The first thing is try to explain why the ruling class in our nation is that aggressive and that barbaric in terms of try to pave the way by the law to kill, at least to let people to kill the unborn baby girls and baby boys like that. So that's why I say this is very one unique observation, and I just cannot explain why I didn't see this explanation about CO2 before. But I'm not sure this is my invention, but I don't think the scientists are that stupid. No, I'm not a scientist also, and why I can see that angle, but other scientists did not see that kind of explanation. And like I say, I did a lot of research on this one, but why I didn't hear it before. So here you go. For the people who worry about CO2, they say that the CO2, when we release to the air, okay, it's gonna block the radiation from the Earth back to the universe, back to the space, right? But that's a very simple observation. I say, hey, if you say that it's gonna block the radiation from the Earth back to the universe, so why you don't say that? It's also blocking the radiation from the sun, directly to the earth. Okay, even the sunshine itself, right? So the same time, it's also blocking the radiation from the sun, direct to the earth. So that's why I say only the simple observation like that, and I'm not sure why. I didn't hear that before. Okay, so let's jump right into the two, abundant source of energy. The two that we call the first one the fission reaction, or another name for that is the chain reaction, because of the that's famous because of the atomic bomb. And the second one is the fusion reaction. The fusion reaction is is much cleaner and much more energy, but now they say, at least according to the scientists, they say that is not ready yet. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think could be ready already, but you know they try to hide it for other purpose. So first let's bring up the picture of fission reaction, and I'll explain more. So in this picture, you see right away the big atom is the uranium. The big atom is uranium, and we only need one. Actually, we only need to energize the first neutron to shoot into the atom, and then it's gonna split the uranium atom into two new atoms, and in the process, it's gonna release a lot of energy, and then the new neutrons, and so the new neutrons gonna go on to bombard it into other uranium atoms. So we have the chain reaction. We have the chain reaction, so it just keep going on like that. So in the process, this reaction can create the big bomb, just like the bomb we dropped onto Hiroshima and Nagasaki in Japan. And also for this reaction, to use it in a good purpose, it's going to be a lot of energy. The only problem with this reaction is the byproduct is the radioactive material. So it can, it can be very dangerous for our environment. But for my understanding, and I do believe that, up to this point, we are smart enough to contain these kind of radioactives. And lately, I watched a video. They was talking about Finland is the first nation try to have the very clean solution for the radioactive materials. So they dig deep underground. It's around 1,500 feet under the ground. So they don't have to worry about the radioactive materials which can affect the environment. So I think that absolutely we are smart enough to contain the materials, but somehow they still complaining about the radioactive materials, and that is the reason they say that we shouldn't use the chain reaction, or another word is the fission reaction, to get the energy. So okay, let's take a look. Then let's see, the next slide gonna be we call the fusion reaction, because it just simply fuse together. The first one is the deuterium with one proton, one neutron, and we don't need to mention about the electron here, right? So the deuterium and the tritium, we fuse them together to get the helium atom. So in the process, it's also released a lot of energy, but at the same time, right, it's gonna just release the neutron as the byproduct. But for this neutron, we don't need it. We don't use this neutron in any way. So we only need to get the energy. And later on, I'm going to show you another picture, another slide to explain a little bit about how we kind of harvest the energy from the process. It is kind of really complicated because this reaction is demanding in terms of the energy to start, yeah, and also demanding in terms of how to keep the plasma together, yeah, because it's required a degree up to 15 to 20 billion, 20 million degree for this for the fusion reaction to happen. So that's why it's very hard. It's very hard to contain. So that's why now the scientists are developing the donut-shaped magnetic field to contain the plasma, but they say it's not 100% successful yet. So that's why I say I'm gonna go back to the next slide later to explain more about how we are gonna harvest the energy from the fusion reaction. But like I say, absolutely, my knowledge is not like a scientist. So that's why I just try my best to explain kind of the simple stuff only. It's not gonna be the whole thing like you can hear from from a scientist. So if you want to hear more, just go ahead and search on YouTube a lot more video to explain about very in detail about the process. But here I just want to have a brief look into the two processes that can bring the abundant source of energy to human beings, to human race. So so now we just kind of summarize the two processes, and I want to explain why. I want to explain why that the fission reaction is enough energy for human beings. But and then we also smart enough to contain the radioactive materials that released as the byproducts of the fission process. And that's why I say we dissolve the energy crisis that the people who argue that we have some sort of problem. Everything because of the energy crisis. I do believe that. So that's why they say they're complaining about the global warming, and then they say that it's urgent for us to reduce the CO2, and then they try to use that as the excuse to kill the unborn girls, unborn boys, and that's why I say everything is related and everything could be in one package. About the energy crisis to global warming to depopulation agenda and to the reason why they probably don't want to release the fusion technology out at this point, because they say maybe still they want to use the excuse for their eugenic agenda. So that's absolutely troubling me the most. That's the reason why I just try my best effort, not as a scientist, but I still try my best effort to explain why our ruling class in this nation try to be that aggressive against the unborn babies. So okay, I'm gonna try to keep up with my slides. So the prompter gonna show you where I'm at right now. So the energy crisis, the no unborn got killed without blessing from both ruling parties. So it's also related, and I did try to explain already. Yeah, because I do see that, why I see that as a collusion. Yeah, because like I say already, uh, when they are campaigning, even like Senator Rubio or President Trump, they can when they're campaigning, they absolutely very. I think that they're very nice to the unborn babies, but after that they just kind of forget. Somehow they just forget or intentionally forget. So that's sad. That's why I say must be some sort of collusion between the Democrats and Republicans in terms of paving the way for people to eliminate the unborn babies so they can reduce the population. Uh, or maybe they use the issue as the leverage because now if they completely try to stop the possible abortion, completely eliminate the process, so no more issue to talk about in the election. So that's why I try to explain that the way they do, maybe they try to use just as the leverage uh, to talk during the campaign only. After that, they try their best. They try their best, or intentionally or unintentionally, to forget about the issue. Okay, so for this, I want to send direct message to the Republican Party that no, you absolutely not allow. You're not allowed to use the life of the unborns just as the game, the bloody game. So that's if that's true, it is absolutely disgusting. So think about it. So back to the energy crisis, I did say already, we did solve it. The only thing we didn't solve is the human greed. So one more time, no need to wait for the fusion. The fission is enough. The fission is enough already. And here I want to touch on the sensitive issue because even me, I don't agree with Einstein on this one because Einstein regretted about the atomic bombs in Japan. I do believe that Einstein is wrong on this issue because maybe he didn't directly related to the victims of the Japanese military at the time. Yeah, because everywhere they go, everywhere they occupied at the time, they caused the level of brutality was like unimaginable from Vietnam to China to Korea at the time. So everywhere they occupied, they caused the great pain to the people who occupied by them, who were invaded by them. So that's why I say I do understand the argument from Einstein because absolutely the destruction of the bomb is so horrifying. But I still believe that it's necessary to stop the war and stop the brutality from the military, the Japanese military. So again, I don't know. It's kind of sad for me to see Einstein going that way, but I'm really sorry. Even I see him as my own teacher, but on this one he's wrong. So Let's quickly come back to the slideshow so I can briefly explain to you about the how we're gonna harness the energy from the fusion the fission I explained already. When in the chain reaction we just convert the heat to the electricity, so we're gonna harvest the energy from there, right? But in this picture, it's totally different. It's much more complicated, and I want to explain also why it is difficult to have the fusion process. Because one thing is it requires, the ignition. The ignition is required the very high level of heat, up to 15 to 20 million degree. So they have to use the laser beams to heat up. Right in the middle, you can see that that is the plasma. That is the plasma, and the source like the tritium and deuterium right in the tube. And absolutely, we need the magnetic field, the donut-shaped magnetic field to contain, so the plasma cannot go anywhere. Just have to stay right there. So to be heated up and then to fuse the deuteriums and the tritium together to be the helium, and then in the process it's going to release a lot of energy. And again, we have to convert the heat back to the electricity, so we can use the electricity for a good purpose. So once again, like I say, I'm not the scientist, but I just try to dig deep into this to try to explain to the people that we, as human race, we did solve the energy crisis. The only thing is, someone tried to argue because they want to use the fossil fuel and use the other source of energy, so maybe they can make the profit out of it. So just keep that in mind. Even for the fusion process, as you seeing on the picture on the display right now, is I do believe it's ready already, but maybe they still try to play with the political game. So it's sad, but eventually, sooner or later, it's gonna come out. And for me, I say that just forget about the fusion. The fission is enough to solve the energy crisis. So with that, I'm gonna conclude this video purely about the energy crisis only. And I did briefly explain about my special observation about the CO2, so you can understand that everything from the global warming to CO2 and to the energy crisis, all those terms, I do believe that the politicians like Nancy Pelosi or Obama or Secretary Clinton, so people like that, I think they got fooled. They got fooled by the hidden dirty beings, behind the scene. So because they did not understand clearly about about those terms specifically, right? Energy crisis, global warming, and the fission process, and the whole thing. They didn't dig deep into the science behind the fact. So that's why they kind of easily, morph into just like a puppet or the tools of hidden dirty beings, try to use them to in the process of depopulation. Depopulation. So once again, be confident about the energy crisis. We did solve the energy crisis already. So that's the main message for this video. Okay, one more time. Thank you for watching, and until the next video, so long.